Welcome, everybody. My name is Andrea Hemann. I am a portfolio community manager. I have been a community manager for 15 plus years in the Midwest area. And today I would like to share with you some information about SmartProperty and their Living Reserve study. The Living Reserve study by SmartProperty allows you to continually update your reserve information. So anytime you complete a major reserve project, you can have that information updated within minutes. This has been a huge benefit to many of my associations. There are many advantages to having a living reserve study versus having the static reserve study report that we are accustomed to seeing. SmartProperty is extremely user-friendly. You start with your list of reserve components. This is where you will keep a complete list of your component inventory. One particular community that I have already has a roof replacement schedule. So what SmartProperty allowed me to do is to break up these by building. I know exactly when the roof was replaced, when it needs to be replaced again, and I have all the up-to-date pricing. It's very simple. We all saw that during COVID and the pandemic, we saw inflation rates skyrocket, which made our static reserve studies basically no good. With SmartProperty, you can very simply adjust the inflation rates. You can adjust any type of pricing that you want at the click of a button. It's very, very simple. SmartProperty allows you to upload photos. This particular community, I had 3 roofs that were next on the list to be inspected and possibly replaced. I had them inspected by a professional roofing company. They came back to me with the report of this roof needs to be done right away. This one you still have 3 years on, along with pictures of the roofs. So I uploaded all the information into my SmartProperty under their specific buildings. Anything that didn't need to be replaced this year, I was able to extend the remaining life with just a click of a couple buttons. So the next time I present this to my board, I can show them what the plan is and actually show them pictures. Another really great feature about the SmartProperty software is as you set up your components. For example, in this community, I have light fixtures. What you can do is you can include an actual picture of what the light fixtures look like. I mean, I manage a portfolio full of properties, so nobody expects you to remember what every light fixture at every community looks like. This is a great way as a quick reference to look at what the reserve component looks like. Another example here is the mailboxes. And like I said, I like to include a picture, as many pictures as I can with the components. Another great feature when you're in the components section where you would add your pictures, you can also upload files. So one of the things that I always upload is once we replace a reserve expense, for instance, this is for our carport roofs, I include a copy of that contract. I also include in the description, just a brief description of the type of materials used. This can really eliminate a lot of confusion going forward and keeping everything in one place, super convenient. One way that you can access the files that you upload are either through the individual components tab over here to the right-hand side, or you can click on the Files tab and it will bring up all lists of everything you've ever attached, all your bids, contracts, anything you need right there at your fingertips. As you can see, I have lots of attached files here. You do have the option to filter. So if you just click right up here in the right-hand corner, then you can very easily do a quick search for a specific item, building, whatever you need. Yeah, SmartProperty has been wonderful. It's allowed me to find mistakes that were maybe previously made in other reserve studies. For instance, while setting up one of my communities, it was brought to my attention that our previous reserve study did not include some very important components. This particular community had added 2 small outbuildings in the last 10 years that were not in our previous reserve study. I think that without making the move to SmartProperty and getting a better look at everything that's included, these could have gone unnoticed for years. One of the other benefits is the mapping feature. This is my association, and these little red pins are everything that I have, a location that I have mapped. For instance, if you go into the components and you want to pull up this building, very simple to do. All you do is on the map, pull up the location of your community and drop the pin. So you'll click right here on this pin and put it over the building or amenity that you want to map. And there it is. This helps with limiting confusion. A lot of communities that I have multiple buildings, multiple carports. So it's nice to be able to pull it up in SmartProperty and have that mapping. So we're all talking about the same area. There are a lot of advantages to having a reserve study and specifically keeping it up to date. SmartProperty allows you to update your financial information. It's very simple to do. This is not only beneficial for the managers and current board members, but also future board members. We know that most board members are volunteers. They don't do this for a living. So it's important to have a 5, 10, 15, and 20-year plan in place. And it's a great way to educate future board members on all the association's expenses and projects that are upcoming. So as far as inputting the financial information, super simple. I go in at the beginning of the year, I put in what their reserve income is along with their operating income. I add how much will be transferred into reserves on a monthly basis, and SmartProperty figures the rest. One of the things that scares boards off is the cost of doing the reserve study. And then you have this binder of paper. That's all you get for that money. We found that SmartProperty is comparable, if not less expensive than a regular reserve study. Another really great tool that you're going to use is the plans feature. This is where you're going to put together your 30-year plan for your association and keep track and compare any funding plans your association may have. One of the biggest reasons it is important to have a living reserve study is to avoid any hidden surprises. You want to avoid special assessments for your communities and especially deferred maintenance. This plans feature will give you the ability to come up with scenarios. So for this particular community, I have a couple of plans that are set up. One of them is this minimum threshold. So if you click on minimum threshold, this section right here will give you a brief description of what that means. This is basically giving you a plan under the assumption that you never want your reserve fund to be under $110,000. So it'll give you this graph, and below here, it will tell you exactly each year how much you need to contribute to your reserve account, how much that is per unit. It will also give you what the expected expenditures are for that year. If you hover over this right here, it'll give you the list of what those expenditures are and what percentage of funding. So this will put the entire plan into place for you so that your reserve account never dips below that $110,000 minimum threshold. When you want to set up a new plan, it's very simple. You just click on this plus plan. You'll have some plans that are already set up for you, or you can add a new custom plan. But let's just say you want to be 100% funded in 10 years. Just click that plan. It will automatically calculate everything for you, and it just does all the math for you. Very helpful. Another really handy plan that they have available for you is you can put together a special assessment plan. So once you click on the plan, go to add new, and you will put in your plan type. This particular plan is the ladder funding. And under plan name, you would put in special assessment and then just click next. And this field is where you will fill in the whatever your contribution is, the percentage of increase, the duration, and in this additional funds to reserve is where you can put in your special assessment amount that you believe you might have. So in this case, I'm going to just do 900,000 and hit next. Leaving all of this the same, leaving my inflation rate at the 4%. That might be different for different associations, different areas. And it will graph your plan here. And then if you come down here below, this is really great. So this says that my special assessment plan for the $900,000 does make this solvent. And here is the percentage of funding. This is a great way to compare different special assessment plans if you're just not sure on how much you need to collect. The great thing is it will tell you if you're solvent or not. So just as an example, instead of the 900,000, if I only had 500,000 in this column. So let's say, for instance, you only want the special assessment plan to be over 5 years. You would put a 5 in there. You will click this plus button, and in here you will add 25. You want your total duration years to add up to 30 years, and then you can go and save. So once you have the duration of the special assessment in place and the amount, again, you just come back here to the plans. This is where you can compare your funding plans. And this is showing that if I did the special assessment for that 500,000, that is not solvent. So we may need to go back and revisit that amount. So it's a great way just to know that you can make yourself whole again and exactly how much you need to collect. So if your association is planning on doing a special assessment and you want to see how you're going to repay back that special assessment, this is a great tool. One of the tools that I find very helpful in association management, especially when you have multiple projects going on, is this projects tab. This will help you track any projects that you have going on from start to finish. It's very simple to use. This one example is for an asphalt resurfacing project that I have going on. Once you're in here, you can give it a sign up project name. This is where you'll put in the approved contract amount. If you've paid anything to date, the total cost of the project. Once you fill in all this information, you'll get down to here. If you hit this show all phases, it'll give you all the phases of your project. So right now in this phase, we're just getting the proposals, which is in progress. And I've just added a note that this inspection should be done on a specific date. Once we have the bids, then we will step this to completed and move on to the next step, which is the request for proposal review. And you just kind of go down the line all the way until it's completed. So there's two views that you can use to look at your projects. Right now we are in the summary view. And if you click over here, there's also a phase view. The projects tool is fabulous, especially if, like me, you juggle multiple projects at a time and you just need to know briefly what stage those projects are in. So this, if you have a list of projects, we'll list all of them for you. This tool is not necessarily a project manager that you may have to hire for special projects, but this is great to give you a brief summary of where you're at in that project and be able to share this with your boards. Also with the projects, once you have your project set up, you can go into the reports and there is a project reports right here. This is a really nice report. You can export this to Excel up here in the right-hand corner, and it's perfect to include in your board packets. And if you have more than one project, it will list all of them and what the status is currently. A feature that I use all the time is the reports feature. It will give you projects, components, funding, and summary reports. This will give you all the reports that you need to educate and help your boards and homeowners. The advantage to having the real-time reserve reports is that will help boards justify any increase they may have to potential owners. One of the biggest reports that I use a lot are my anticipated expenditures. Every board, every group of homeowners wants to know what the next projects are going to be and what it's going to cost. This report is fabulous. It will give you a bar graph by year, so you can kind of see what you have coming for the next until, in this case, 2052. This graph is really important. It allows us to see what our upcoming expenditures are. And as you can see in this report, in 2040, they have a lot of expected expenditures. So this will allow us to say, hey, is there anything that we could move up or push back? It looks like we don't have a lot going on in 2036. So being able to kind of spread out those expenditures over the next several years will definitely help with preventing a special assessment to your owners. The report will also give you a complete breakdown of what you're going to do. Once you have your components in, you can see exactly, I'm going to be replacing this roof at this address, these electrical gang boxes, and so on and so forth. Another great feature is the dashboard page. I use this a lot when speaking to my homeowners. It can be very confusing for homeowners who get a balance sheet that shows that they have $500,000 in the bank account. But as you can see from this report, this means that this association is actually only 39% funded at this time. So this kind of helps explain to owners that that money is already spoken for. That's not just money sitting in the bank that you can use frivolously. As I mentioned, you can actually see your percentage of funding not only from this dashboard, but also in your reports. So if you go into reports into the funding analysis and pull the current funding analysis, this report gives you much more detail. It's going to give you a graph of your funding plan, and it's also going to give you a breakdown. As we saw from the dashboard, it said we were 38% funded. And this report allows you to see by year what your percentage of funding is. So if you look over to the far right column, you can see in upcoming years how small that percentage is going to get. So this is very important for boards to see, especially when they're doing their budgets. They're not really sure how much they should be contributing to reserves. This is a great report to use for that. I think one of the challenges that managers have, especially when meeting with the boards during budget season, is convincing or explaining how much they should be contributing to their reserves. This report is a great report so that boards can see exactly what the percentage of funding is. And this is going to help them also explain to homeowners when they see that little bit of increase and they don't understand why they're not seeing immediate projects being done. This is a very important tool for future capital expenditure planning and funding. You don't want any hidden surprises. You want to avoid special assessments for your communities and especially deferred maintenance. We all know with the insurance industry this day, deferred maintenance is something that gets asked all the time. The reports are very beneficial, and I've even provided them to my insurance carriers, showing that we have a full plan put into place and there is no deferred maintenance at these associations. When you're navigating through the SmartProperty application, on every screen, you will see this little help link right here. This is where if at any time you need to search for help, in this particular case, we could do funding plans. It'll give you a quick reference on how to view, how to create. This is very easy and simple to use. It'll give you a complete breakdown. Any questions that you have, this is very helpful. If for some reason you're unable to find what you need through this link, you can always use the chat option as well. The SmartProperty site also allows you to invite board members or perhaps committee members to also look at the site. This activity feature right here will allow you to see anybody who's logged in and made changes. As a portfolio manager, this feature is really nice. This keeps all of my properties who are on SmartProperty in one location. I don't have separate logins. I can pull up any community at any time, just with a click of a button. SmartProperty has been a huge time saver for me. I no longer sit and just have discussions with the board on what projects we're going to do, what's going to be done when. It's a very, very simple tool. I want to thank you all for watching today, and I encourage you to talk to your manager or to visit smartproperty.com to learn more about the Living Reserve study from SmartProperty.